Well, people, just back from the cinema, I went to check out Elio, right? This is the new Pixar joint. It is directed by Domee Shi and Madeline Sharafian, along with Adrian Molina. It is written by Julia Cho, Mark Hamill, and Mike Jones. Okie dokie, right? So the film is produced by Mary Alice Drum. It is executive produced by Pete Docter and Lindsay Collins. Associate produced by Alice Clendenon and Upton Corbin. Okie dokie. Right, Rob Simonson handled the music. Cinematography was Jordan Rempel and Derek Williams. Steve Bloom and Anna Waltiski handled the editing duties. Casting, we had Natalie Lyon, Kevin Rea, and Kate Hanson Bernabom. Harley Jessup is production design. Art direction, we have Carl Jones, Maria Lee, Ernesto Nemesio, Matt Nolt, and Christian Norelius. What else do we have? Let's just go to the voice cast. Okay, so Elio is voiced by Yonas Kibreab. His aunt Olga is voiced by Zoe Saldaña. Glorden is voiced by Remy Edgerly. Ambassador Helix is voiced by Brandon Moon. Lord Griggan is voiced by Brad Garrett. Ambassador Cuesta is voiced by Jamelia Jamil. Bryce, voiced by Young Dylan, aka Dylan Gilmere. Caleb is voiced by Jack Getman. Ambassador Tegman is voiced by Matthias Schwerfer. Andela Reguera voices Ambassador Juris. Ambassador Noyce is voiced by Atushka Okakuska, the comedian. Shirley Henderson voices Ooh. Ambassador Uva is voiced by Naomi Watanabe. Brendan Hunt is Gunther Melmac. He works with Olga. Ambassador Mira is voiced by Anissa Borrego. Diplo Ship is voiced by Shelby Young. The Universal Users Manual is voiced by Bob Peterson. Museum Exhibit narrator is Kate Mulgrew. And Tamara Tooney is Colonel Markwell. So yeah, there you go. The gist of the film. Elio, a space fanatic with an active imagination, finds himself on a cosmic misadventure where he must form new bonds with alien life forms, navigate a crisis of intergalactic proportions, and somehow discover who he is truly meant to be. So yeah, that's the gist of things, right? So, I mean, word is this has the worst Pixar opening ever. And I was curious, right? Because they said the same about Elemental, and Elemental was solid. There was, there's nothing wrong with Elemental. And I'm watching Elio. Again, it wasn't a bad film, right? Wasn't a bad film. Right, now, so on this film, we have 3 directors. But essentially, right, it is directed by Domee Shi and Madeline Sharafian. There's Adrian Molina came up with the initial idea. Right, it's based on his childhood. He used his childhood as a template, right? The idea of living on an army base, isolation, all of that jazz. But he left a project to go work on Coco 2. So that's when Shi and Sharafian came in as lead directors. So I think that's why you have that. So he's probably done a lot of work on it. So they leave him as, director in name. But, then, Shi and Sharafian all added to the story, along with Julia Cho, right? So that's the gist with that. I thought it was interesting, right? Because you have this kid. His parents have died. He's feeling isolated. He goes live with his aunt, right? She's young, right? You know what I mean? So she has plans for her life. She wants to be an astronaut. But all of that has to then go on hold because she wants to look after her nephew. That would be right? It would be her nephew. I feel that's the right one. I don't know why, but I can never get any of that shit. It's always all over the place. But I feel Elio would be her nephew. But anyway, she has to look after him. And she wants to look after him. You know what I mean? She lost her sister, right? So that creates, we have him feeling lonely, isolated, no friends, and all of that jazz. Like at the beginning, he sneaks off into an exhibition that's not quite open yet, right? It's about the stars and everything like that. And she finds him there. Now, it's supposedly years later what then follows, but it's not overly clear. We have a time jump in the film, But what I thought was, right, you're watching the film and I don't think we necessarily see, like, Olga's not mean to Elio. Right? Olga's trying her best to be there for him. And I think that, we could have maybe had a bit more around that. Right? Because there's a bit where he's told he's special. He's unique. Elio ain't unique. Right? Elio ain't unique. Right, what he is someone that's had a tough shake of the hand, right? Losing his parents. But a load of people have been in or are in that situation, and it's tough. It really is tough. But it's just finding a way to navigate it, finding a way to be able to let people back in. Right, to let down the defenses. And I do feel that could have been a better message. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some very nice moments in the film, right? And you get what they're doing and what they're saying and all of that. And I think it will resonate with a load of people. But I do feel like the whole, you're special and you're great and blah, 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 blah. not everyone's special, right? There's a lot of average people. I mean, a lot of average, but there's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone is going to change the world, right? Not everyone's going to make a crazy invention. And, you know what I mean? Some people are just going to be steady, which is great. You need steadiness. You need solid foundations, you know? And I think in this film, we have Elio, he's running away, right? It's not necessarily because when there's an opportunity like Bryce, the situation with Bryce wants to be his buddy, but he's just like, no, go away. I'm doing this on my own. You know what I mean? So it's just like he's isolating himself. Now, obviously, there's reasons for that, you know, but that's the thing, you know, and I think the situation with Olga, because she's trying to be there for him. She loves him, but he's not letting her in. So it's not like, oh, he's got no one. It's just he's created a scenario where he feels he has no one, right? And as I said, that happens when you've been through trauma. So I kind of think we could have addressed those things, you know? Could have addressed those things. That would have been really interesting. And I do think, like, the animation was very good, right? The animation was very good, and it's nice seeing different types of families and that kind of thing on the screen, you know, especially with kids and all of that, right? It's good for them to see something different, right? There's been years of the same type of kid on screen. So I think that's all gravy. That's all good. You know, I will say, I thought the voice cast was good, because I don't think you necessarily think it's Zoe Saldaña as Olga, right? And that's what I want in a voice cast with animation, right? That people actually become a character rather than we just have famous person with their voice. You know what I mean? Because that's not storytelling for me. So I thought the voice cast did a very good job. I thought the animation was very good, you know? Though the aliens were kind of generic. I mean, we've seen these aliens before. You know what I mean? So we could have done some fun things, like some different types of aliens, you know? And we don't necessarily have to do the over dramatic stuff and all of that, like with Mel Walker. What was homie's name again? Let me just Melmac, right? So he's just like, oh, like, we don't always have to go that route, right? With these kind of stories, they can be a bit more grounded and still be fun, right? Everyone doesn't have to be a drama queen, you know what I mean? But yeah, I thought this wasn't a bad story. I probably prefer this to How to Train Your Dragon, to be honest with you, you know? Because that one I didn't buy the relationships in that, but I did think the relationships worked better in this film, you know? So, I mean, take that how you want, right? I think it's all about taste and what you prefer and all of that kind of jazz. You know, I've not necessarily loved all of the Pixar films, but they're not necessarily for me. You know, this isn't necessarily for me. I just, I like space, right? All of that kind of jazz. I get it. And I get the isolation, right? The loss, all of that kind of thing. So, you know what I mean? You can have a story resonate a little bit more to you, even if it isn't for you. You understand? So, yeah, I thought the elements, the components of Elio worked. You know? It could, as I said, it could have, I think, taken the story in a slightly, well, not different direction, but approach, right? When dealing with, Elio and his relationships and, how he's kind of dealing with everything. Because I think that's something we don't necessarily see, right? The way they've done it, I mean, we've seen it loads of times, but we haven't necessarily seen it done the other way. So if we had done that, I think that would have been something really special, something really different. But coming off of turning red, I think it was Turning Red, right? The Domee Shi's directorial debut, which was great. I loved Turning Red. I thought that was very good. And this is Madeline Sharafian's first feature film. So, they're very new in the game. And I think they did do a solid job. So, I would say, if you enjoyed, like, Elemental, we do have some similar themes, right? I mean, we have similar themes to a lot of Pixar, Disney stories. So if you enjoy those kind of things, right? When you look at Lilo and Stitch, Lilo, she wanted a friend, right? She's floundering. Her parents have died. Right, so it's a similar thing. So if you enjoy those stories, I think you will enjoy Elio. Okay, so it's in cinema. Don't necessarily listen to all of this stuff about it's the worst Pixar film. I think people like a narrative, and then a load of motherfuckers jump on, right? Because you want to be seen as knowledgeable as this person. So it's just like, I don't want to go against the grain. I couldn't say anything different. So yeah, don't necessarily go with that. But as I said, it depends on what kind of stories you like. So if you didn't like Elemental, if you didn't like Lilo and Stitch, then maybe you won't like Elio. But if you do like those stories, I'd give Elio a try. It's in cinemas right now, people. Go enjoy Elio.